Let us dive into scripture here together. We're in a 3-week conversation called The Exchange. Somebody say The Exchange. And we've been looking at these different conversations that have taken place around Jesus's trial and death and resurrection. Last Sunday, we talked about questions, and our message was titled The Truth About Questions. And today, I want to talk to you about truth. And so we've called this today, Questions About Truth. And I just want to wrestle through this idea together. Here's my aim. I don't want to berate you. I don't want to beat you over the head. My aim here is to serve some things up for you to take home and chew and wrestle through together. I pray that this inspires you, that it triggers something in your heart that you are like, man, I need to investigate that a little quicker. I don't want you to take my word for it. I just want you to take his word for it, which means that you got to leave here and get up in his word. I have done my job right if you leave here and want to get into the word of God. That's my aim. It's not, wow, that was a great sermon, preacher. It was like, man, I got to know more. So if I've done my job right as a preacher, it's making you want to go deeper into the things of God. So questions about truth. It's my belief that when truth is a moving target, that freedom is unattainable. If truth is a moving target, then you and I will never truly be free. Jesus says that if you are my disciples, you will abide in my word, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Anybody want to be free? You know what I'm done with? Coming to church every week and leaving the same. Are you done with that? Anybody ready to abandon smallness? You ready to abandon sameness? You ready to abandon the hamster wheel? You ever played a game with somebody who they're always changing the rules of the game? Anybody ever played a game with somebody like that? Or maybe like those really competitive people who just randomly toss in these rules that you didn't know about all of a sudden because they start to lose the game. You know that guy? And you never want to play a game with him ever again? I was starting to learn this game. It's a super nerdy game. Don't judge me or do. It's up to you and God. But here's the thing. I was learning this game called Settlers of Catan. Anybody play Settlers of Catan? Come on. Nerds unite. And so I was watching. I hadn't really read the rules, and so I was watching and trying to infer by the way I saw other people play the game. I'm trying to figure out how to play the game. So then when they're like, hey, do you want to play? And I'm like, yeah, but like, how do you play? What are the rules? Like, I just figure it out as you go. You know that person? I just figure it out as you go. I don't like that person because I'm competitive by nature, and I want to know the rules because I want to know how I can use the rules to gain the biggest advantage over you without breaking them. We don't like people who break rules. We call those people cheaters, and those people do not belong in sports. They deflate footballs. They videotape other people's practices. I was trying to learn how to play this game just by having watched other people, and then I kept trying to do stuff. They're like, no, you can't do that. And it felt like the rules of the game were always changing because I didn't know the actual rules of the game. I was just trying to infer it by what I had seen other people do. Hello, the game of life, not the actual board game, the actual game that you are living in life. Is how often you and I are just trying to live this thing. We're trying to figure out how to do it just by what we've seen, the way we've seen other people play the game. And we're inferring by, okay, this is how we're supposed to do it. And all of a sudden, you get slapped upside the head because that's not the way you're supposed to play the game. You ain't never read the rule book. Can I just assert to you that Jesus very conveniently gave us a rule book about how this life should go, how to maximize your freedom, how to maximize your time here on this planet. Now, here's the thing about truth is that you and I live in a day and age where truth it's relative. Like, you can have your truth, and I can have mine, and you can have yours, and she can have hers, and they can have theirs, and we can have this, and it all sounds so noble, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound like super, hey, no, just do you. Like, I'm going to do me, and you do you. And as long as you just stay over there and I stay over here, then like truth doesn't even really matter. Can I just toss something out to you? That if I was the devil trying to strategize how to keep people in bondage, you realize this is what the enemy is trying to do. He's trying to keep you in bondage in your marriages, in your relationships, in your finances, and your workplace, and your attitudes, your thought patterns, your habits. That if I was the enemy and I was trying to keep people in bondage, and I heard Jesus say something like he did in John chapter 8, where he said, if you are my disciples, you will abide in my word. You'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free. If I heard Jesus say, the truth will set you free, and I'm the devil, you know what's the first thing I'm going to start attacking? I'm going to start attacking truth. And not just attacking what the truth is. If I'm a smart adversary, I'm going to start attacking the very notion of truth itself. Because if I can keep truth a moving target, I can keep freedom unattainable. If I can keep changing the rules to the game, if I can keep tricking people, and I can keep switching stuff up and moving the target, I can keep God's people spinning their wheels. You know, there are plenty of people who are sitting in churches week after week after week after week after week that do not know the truth. People think they know the truth. So here is what I'm trying to present to you here today. And I'm not trying to convince you, because here's what I know, is that a lot of people sitting in this room are going to go, cool, bro, that's your truth. Fully aware. What I'm asking you to do here today is to consider the fact that maybe, just maybe, truth is not what you thought it was. John chapter 18, we read this last week, and we're going to read it again. Verse 28 says, they led Jesus from the house of Caiaphas to the governor's headquarters. It was early morning. They themselves did not enter the governor's headquarters so that they would not be defiled, but could eat the Passover. So Pilate went outside to them and said, what accusation do you bring against this man? This is right, Jesus' beginning of his trial. As he's on his way, within 24 hours, he'll be on a cross. And they answered him, if this man were not doing evil, we wouldn't have delivered him over to you. And Pilate said, take him for yourselves. Judge him by your own law. And the Jews said to him, but it's not lawful for us to put anyone to death. And this was to fulfill the word that Jesus had spoken, to show by what kind of death he was going to die. Verse 33, so after this exchange, Pilate walks into his office and calls Jesus in and says, are you the king of the Jews? Jesus answered, do you say this of your own accord, or did others say it to you about me? And Pilate answered, am I a Jew? Your own nation and the chief priests have delivered you over to me. What have you done? And Jesus answered. So here's what we get, this fast-paced exchange. This fast-paced of they're out in the front yard. Ice cream guy drove by. Take Jesus back into the headquarters. Stand there having a conversation. Bam, ask him this question, are you the king of this? And Jesus pauses and he says, my kingdom is not of this world. What an interesting response from Jesus. My kingdom is not of this world. Thank God, by the way, that his kingdom is not of this world. He said, if my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. Maybe he could have said it this way. If my kingdom were of this world, we would be living this world's truth, which means fight back when someone is fighting against. I'll just lob that out there. But my kingdom is not from this world. And Pilate said, so you are a king. Jesus answers, you say I'm a king. For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world. Someone asks you the question, why did Jesus come? You'd probably be like, to die for my sins. You're not wrong. But the overarching and the undergirding thing of all of the gospel story is Jesus says, for this purpose I was born, for this purpose I have come to the world to bear witness to the truth. And everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice. Pilate said to him, what's truth? C.S. Lewis used a term called chronological hubris, meaning that because we are the latest iteration of humanity, we assume that we are the smartest. This notion of truth being relative, what even is truth, is not the new kid on the block. It's not the newest, like latest thing that we have come to think of. It is an old attack of the enemy that has been around for a very long time that's just resurfacing itself. But even deeper than that, I think here's the question Pilate is asking. What is truth? Because truth has no utility in Pilate's life. Truth doesn't put food on the table. Truth doesn't bring your husband back. Truth isn't paying your bills. For Pontius Pilate, he was a guy who he had fallen out of favor with Rome. He was working his way up at work and then had some run-ins with his superiors. Don't raise your hand, but anybody ever experienced that before? You're making your way up and then you run into somebody, and Pilate gets stationed out into this far-flung region. It's like he got stationed in Blaine, Washington. He was in D.C. and he makes somebody mad and he gets sent to Deer Park. So all Pilate is trying to do is get back to Rome. All Pilate is trying to do is get the promotion. All he is trying to do is keep the peace until the promotion comes. It's why he's responding the way he is on this Friday afternoon where there's a near riot outside of his headquarters. Who do you want, Jesus or Barabbas? Thinking they're going to pick Jesus. And they're like, Barabbas. He's like, wait a second, what? Are you sure? Jesus didn't do anything. You want me to release him? They're like, Barabbas. And he thinks about it for a second, goes back in and talks to Jesus. He's like, seriously, where are you from? What have you done? And Jesus is silent. I love it. And so he walks back out. He's like, I'm going to give you another chance. Jesus perhaps Barabbas. He's like, fine, take Barabbas. Because all he's trying to do is make it through Friday. He doesn't want his boss to get mad at him again. Pilate, I trusted you with this tiny little thing, and now we got a riot on our hands. We got these people freaking out. They have been fined for 400 years, and all of a sudden, under your watch, stuff is falling apart. Then he's having a conversation with Jesus, who says, I was born and came into this world to testify to the truth. And Pilate goes, what use is truth to me in this world? How is truth going to help me get from here to there? Does truth matter? Let me tell you, if all we are concerned with is not being in conflict with other people, just waiting our time to get the promotion at work. You're trying to avoid dramas while you tell the girl and the people next to you, hey, girl, you just live your truth, I'll live mine. Just everybody stay calm. I've been here for 6 years, and if I can stay calm for 6 months, I'm going to get the promotion. I don't have to sit next to you and your stupid truth and your weird hummus anymore. I've been working too hard for your truth to mess up my promotion. And if all we are concerned with is advancement and not being in conflict with the people around us, then you will continue to ask the question, what is truth? Truth is not useful to you. You have no problem changing your truth to align to what you're feeling in the moment, but you'll never be free. You can get all the promotions you want to get. You can buy all the things you want to buy. You can minimize as much conflict as you want to, but you will always be in bondage because Jesus said it is the truth. The truth. You notice the exclusivity? The truth. Man, I thought Jesus was inclusive. He is, but he also knew what sets you free. Jesus is the ultimate includer. He's telling you, you can be part of this kingdom. But you know how many people are living as citizens of the kingdom of heaven that are not free? Most. And if I was the devil and I wanted to keep people in bondage, I would keep truth a moving target. This is why I reject the fact that someone can say, you just live your truth and I'm going to live mine. What happens when those two truths they start colliding with each other? Then what? What we all know is the lie that nobody's pointing out. Is that everybody living their own truth means nobody is actually free. It means we're all tiptoeing around each other, not trying to make each other mad. And as long as I can stay over there, and you stay over there, and I'm going to stay over here with the people that align with my truth. And then we sit in an echo chamber and we watch our cable news channel and we hang out with our people that we like, who think like us, and we'll just live our truth and you live yours. And all the while, everybody is dying inside. I'm asking you to consider that maybe since Jesus said his kingdom is not of this world, then maybe the truth he came to attest to also is not found in the logic of this world. Why would he respond to Pilate, my kingdom is not of this world? Maybe one of the reasons is because he was trying to get Pilate to see that what I also represent is not of this world. You know why? When your truth runs into the truth, it causes tension, because this is not of this world. This is the guidelines that you can pull out of the box instead of trying to have to figure out how to play the game by watching everybody else and using everybody else's bad strategies that might work in one scenario, but then you're confronted with another scenario and that strategy goes out the window. You're like, wait, I thought I was supposed to play the game this way. Well, that doesn't work over here. So we just change our truth. Or if very conveniently Jesus came in the person and the work of Jesus came to attest to not a good truth, not your truth, not my truth, but the truth. And I would say, I think the biggest reason, at least for me, and maybe I'm overstepping, but you might agree with this. The biggest wrestle that we have with truth being absolute, we love relative truth. Because it means if I don't like something, I can just change the truth. If I'm not feeling it, I can just change it. The thing that we hate most in our fallenness and our brokenness and our sinfulness is that when there is absolute truth, it means that I am forced to change. I am forced to align to the truth. That if I want to be free, I can't get freedom my own way. I can't get freedom in relationships playing the world's way. Oh yeah, if you don't like that, if you don't love that whole mutual serve one another, hey, that's their truth. Your truth is do you. Okay, do you all the way to being 50 years old and alone. Or maybe, just maybe, the one who we are so willing to believe about him, that he's so gracious and loving, that he would not just accept, but he would empower and release broken, fallen people like us. We love that. We love that. The grace and his blood was shed for us. And who are we to receive that? But then when confronted with truth, to go, no, that's not my truth. Wait a second, it was really your truth when Jesus went to the cross for you. Like, that was really your truth, bro. You really needed that one. But either Jesus is telling the truth about all of it or none of it. And no condemnation in this room. I'm just asking you to consider the fact that maybe, just maybe, the enemy has done his very best to not just confuse the truth, but confuse the very notion of truth and the underpinnings of truth. Because it's stopped us in our relationships. We can't even have healthy conversations anymore, because when we confront one another and we disagree and there is no absolute truth, it breaks relationship, because you live your truth and I'll live mine over here, but we can't talk anymore because that's not my truth. And it's robbed you in your relationships, and you are not free. The enemy wants you to think that's what freedom is you just live your truth. That is bondage, bro. Jesus said that if you abide in my word. How can I know the truth, Pastor? If you abide in my word. Don't take my word for it. You heard this message through your filters. Don't take my word for it. You got to take the word for it. If you abide in my word, you are truly my disciples. And you will know the truth. It was possible to know the truth. And that might be your wrestle. Man, that was a great message, but that's your truth. Would you be brave enough and bold enough to ask the Holy Spirit, is there any merit to what that preacher is saying? Because what if I'm right? And what if Jesus is actually who he says he is? And the freedom in your mind, the freedom in your heart, the freedom in your emotional life is not tied to you living your truth, but it's submitting to the truth. I'm just asking you to consider it. They will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And if I was the enemy and I heard Jesus say that, I'd go, boys, we just got our marching orders. We're going to go attack the truth. Because I want them bound up. I want them in chains. There's too many people in God's great church who aren't living in the fullness of the freedom that God purchased for them, because we don't know the word. But also, and I mean specifically to younger people in the room, I'm all for exploring and I'm all for learning. There's got to be some sort of underpinning. There's got to be some sort of framework through which you're viewing it. Because you got to know what's true and what's not true. And this world's going to sell you a whole bunch of stuff that is hollow and that might feel good in a moment and feel like it's bringing you the solution you need. But when the mystique wears off in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, you're going to be left. What you thought was your ticket to freedom has actually put you further into bondage than you realized. You can know the truth. So your question might be, preacher, where do I go? What do I do? Here's what I would tell you. Read the Gospel of John. If you abide in my word, you will be my disciples. Read the Gospel of John. It's found in the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Read John. You're like, what do I do after that? Read John again. And what do I do after that? You better read John again. What do I do after that? Well, maybe read John again. Pastor, isn't there all this stuff? Oh, yeah, there's tons of stuff that we can get to. But the Gospel of John he's so articulate telling you about how much God loves you. And how wonderful and how beautiful you are. He says, if you abide in my word, you'll know the truth. Where do I go after that? Well, that's by Thursday, right? Because you've read the whole gospel once per day? No, I'm just kidding. Where do I go after that? Hey, how about a connect group? How about get some people in your world who will speak the truth into your life and encourage you with the truth? How about jumping on YouTube and watching some Genesis Church replay? We need to have a thing on our web where we have like suggested resources, because there's a whole lot of bad sermons on YouTube too. I almost said, just go on so you can watch YouTube, watch some sermons. Don't do that. I just want you to be free, Genesis. You can take the online platforms. I mean, you could take the lights. You could take the name. I don't care any of this stuff. If you are just free, take it all. If nobody ever knew the name of this church, nobody ever knew my name, nobody ever knew the name of this city, but it was just full of a bunch of free people. You could take everything else. I just want you to be free. So I'm asking you this week to consider that maybe Jesus knows the truth. And it's that truth that will set you free. Can we stand together?